My lovelies, it's another beautiful day to read a story. Are you ready? Quick, go grab your stuffy. Today's story is called Wolverine and Little Thunder. Wolverine and Little Thunder. Yes, and the t-shirt I'm wearing says every child matters. We are today remembering the legacy of the residential schools and everything that happened. Remember that there was a time in Canadian history when it wasn't fun as a young indigenous child to go to school because they had to go to these residential schools. Sometimes in these schools it wasn't a lot of fun at all. It wasn't a lot of fun to be in school during those times. So today's reading is called Wolverine and Little Thunder. I am super excited about this story. Are you ready? Go grab your stuffy. Let's get into the story. The story centers around indigenous living. We're celebrating their culture. Wolverine and Little Thunder. Little Thunder's home was far away from other people. He lived alone with his mother and father, and he had no playmates. But he had a great many animal friends, and his favorite of all was Wolverine. Now, Wolverine was a super athlete. He could jump from treetop to treetop and travel long distances without touching the ground. He was also a great swimmer and could hold his breath longer than anyone. Wolverine was impossible to beat in a fight. Even when he was beaten, and he would reassemble himself and win the fight. Once Wolverine discovered he was indestructible, it made him all the more daring and very brave. As we will see, sometimes Wolverine was so daring that it would complicate Little Thunder's life. Wolverine was famous for being strong and fierce and loyal and helpful, but he was also known for being a trickster. That's why the elders of the community respected him so much, and they taught Little Thunder to respect Wolverine as well. Even though Little Thunder and Wolverine were very different, they became friends quickly. Little Thunder lived in a wigwam with his parents. It was very orderly and comfortable in his home. Wolverine lived in a hole dug under a tree. His home was comfortable but not very orderly. But Wolverine and Little Thunder had one important thing in common. Little Thunder was being groomed to take his father's place as the Thunder Maker, and Wolverine was preparing to assist his friend in his role when the time came. Morning, Wolverine would meet Little Thunder at his wigwam, and the two would go in search of the caribou herd that was usually nearby. They became better and better at guessing where the herd had moved since they last saw it. Once they found the herd, they'd observe the caribou as they grazed on the long grasses, watching to see if a new calf had been born. Working as a team, Wolverine and Little Thunder would sneak up on their prey. Little Thunder would get the herd to move in Wolverine's direction, but Wolverine, being so impulsive, would pounce too early and the attack would fail. Though they enjoyed hunting caribou, their favorite pastime was eel fishing. They fished in the summer, they fished in the winter. Eel fishing was fun, and eel meat was their favorite meat of all. In the winter, they would get a stone axe and cut through the ice. Using a very long spear, they would poke around in the mud until they speared an eel. In the summer, they used a canoe and fished all night with a torch. They would also catch eels in the fish weirs with stones on the river and would funnel the eels into a basket. But Wolverine and Little Thunder loved to spare eels best of all. One summer night, when the moon was full, they lit a torch and went out on the river. Everything was going well. They had caught a couple of eels, and Wolverine was at the front of the boat, taking a turn with the spear. Little Thunder's mind wandered. He remembered the stories his father had told him about a giant eel that lived in this river. An eel that was so big to catch, too big to catch, an eel that could turn the tables on whoever hunted it. As Wolverine was poking around in the mud, he felt something stir. He'd woken the great eel. It rose out of the water, all 100 feet of it, with strength to match its size. The eel pulled Wolverine overboard. The fight was on. Little Thunder watched in fear from the back of the boat. As Wolverine was pulled underwater, he thought about how the giant eel could provide enough meat to get his community through the coming winter. So they landed on the lake bottom. Wolverine was an excellent diver, but now he was in for the fight of his life. The eel coiled around Wolverine, keeping him from the surface, trying to drown him. With all his might, the eel could defeat any opponent, but Wolverine was immortal. Yes, as the two of them fought, as the water churned, it sounded a little like thunder, as if a tornado was trying to suck up the river. Little Thunder watched this contest amazed, the moonlight on the water giving it a strange beauty. Little Thunder was very worried about his friend and thought there was no way Wolverine could defeat the eel in his own backyard. Then suddenly, the river became quiet. Wolverine poked his head out of the water. "Give me my rope," he said to Little Thunder. "We will pull the eel to shore." They pulled at the rope, but the eel did not want to come to shore. They pulled and pulled with all their might. They were almost ready to give up when a moose happened by. Little Thunder asked for his help, and the moose was glad to assist. The three pulled the eel's massive body all day long and got it to shore just as the sun was starting to set. And then they were able to make a meal out of the eel. Little Thunder had cleaned the eels for his mother Giju, but this eel was beyond his experience, so he ran home to get her. It took 3 days to skin and clean the giant eel, but Wolverine was right. There was enough meat for the winter. The eel skin was so long, it was as long as a forest path. Wolverine and Little Thunder were determined that no part of the animal would be wasted. After letting the skin dry in the sun for 3 days, they made a canoe out of the skin of the eel. The end. Take that again. That was an amazing read by Alan Still Boy, Wolverine and Little Thunder. Don't forget, every child matters. You're important. Every child is important. Until the next time, who's amazing? You are amazing.